Hey everybody, this is 30 Days with Jake, and I'm Jake, and this is my cigarette-free challenge. If you enjoy these videos, please hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already, so you can be notified every time I upload a video. So today is day number 13, and with me I have Benjamin Candido Falto Armijo. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm doing good.
That is great to hear.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing good.
It's nice, it's nice to see you after. It's been a while since
It
we've
has been a
actually
while.
had a time to sit down and talk.
I think the last time I saw you was when you did open mic.
Oh yeah. I was at the open mic.
That was
Yeah.
what, 3-4 weeks ago? It was longer than that.
It was August.
At least a month ago, maybe.
Yeah, probably
August.
A month. Yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
doesn't matter. But we're
Well,
good.
actually, it does because I can include this in here. This guy is a comedian. Okay, this guy is I want to say the smartest guy I know.
Wow. Thank you, Jake.
Okay, I know. Obviously there are smarter guys out there.
Oh, well, okay.
And on TV, you got the geniuses. You got who's the one guy died, I think, in a wheelchair.
Oh, Stephen Hawking.
Steven, see, I didn't know that. I couldn't think of his name. My brain doesn't work as fast as this guy.
Okay.
But yeah, no, this guy's got some ambitions. I'm gonna get into it right now. Ask him, his dreams, goals, hopes, and so yeah, he's a comedian guy, very funny guy. Check him out. Do you have any?
I guess I have an Instagram. It's at PCC Mobile Library. That's just all one word. PCC for Pasadena City College, and then mobile and library, all one word. If you're interested, check it out. I'm also a journalist on the Pasadena City College Courier, so if you want to read what is ostensibly a school newspaper that I'm writing for, you can do that too. And I'm also working on the school's podcast as well, so you might get to hear my voice and not see my face, which, depending on what you think of it, can be an advantage or disadvantage. That's up to you.
You have a beautiful face, Ben.
Thank you, Jacob.
And a beautiful voice.
Well, thank you for that too.
But you've gotten really busy.
Yeah, very.
Oh my God, you're doing the podcast. You're taking classes right now?
Yeah.
You're doing volunteer work?
No.
Oh, not this semester.
No. Yeah.
But he's done volunteer work. He's worked with kids.
Mm-hmm.
He's really great friends with Ian. For those of you who've heard him talk about Ian before, and
it's 6 people that went to a mic 2 months ago.
So okay, we're gonna get into it. What's our history?
Well, I want to say we met at an acting class at PCC. How many years at this point?
2016.
2016.
Fall
okay.
2016.
So about 2 years ago. Yeah, it was one of those things. I was just taking the class to take it, really. I wasn't really sure I wanted to be an actor or anything. But Jacob here, he got bitten by the bug, and
The first day.
yeah, the first day he was really enjoying it, and so we just ended up hanging out, talking and stuff. We got closer because we got bit with that same kind of ambition that a lot of young actors get bit. We're gonna make a movie, let's do it. So a lot of our early bonding was in this larger group of people trying to put together this weird Halloween cult film kind of situation.
And at first it started off as a fun project just to show for the class.
Yeah.
Right, we were gonna do it for the Halloween party. And a quick shout out to Deborah Taylor,
Yes.
one of my favorite instructors, teachers that I've ever come across with. If any of you know her, she is the best. She is the most loving, she's hilarious. And for those of you who don't, I recommend you taking her if you take an acting class. I definitely recommend you. She's a great lady. She's a great woman. She's my acting mom. She's my theater mom. The same for you too, right?
Yeah. It's really, she's. I think what makes her great is that she's always very optimistic and open about people's abilities to act. I feel a lot of she's your best first acting teacher, because no matter what kind of mistakes you have, she'll be like, you know what, you can work through this. And I think that's a really good way to start, especially in any art form, because especially if it's something you like doing, you're always worried about screwing it up, or you're always worried about oh, so many great people came before me, how can I ever live up to them? And she's really good at sort of dispelling some of those fears within you, and just letting you play, because that's what acting is. It's playing. to a degree. So
Yeah. Also, with Deborah Taylor, we've had.
oh, we were in some plays together. I think it was 12th Night was the one we
12th
were in.
Night. We did the one act, and then we did the main stage.
Yeah, at Pasadena City College. It was a fun experience actually. We got some it was interesting because overall it came out to be like a 6-month thing, like 6-month commitment. It was just like a one act, like really short condensed version of 12th Night on a tiny stage. Like we had no props. And like our only like real like space that we had was like a little bench that got moved around to tell people where in the setting they were.
Well, we had swords, right?
Did we have swords the first
one
time? Oh
like,
yeah, we did.
Because
I
think like, most everyone like more people had it in the main stage, but
yeah, we had some sword fighting.
You had a sword?
Yeah, we had sword fighting. Yeah. We had.
It was like 4 of you guys.
We had like
the main fighting.
Yeah, we
guys.
had we had 2 like sword fights in it, which was really cool. But it was a small limited space, really small production at first.
And the fighting it was choreographed by who?
Oh, Will Hickman.
Hickman.
He's another acting instructor at Pasadena City College, who also is like a licensed fight choreographer and instructor in fighting, I believe. And so he's always down for like fake fighting. In fact, actually, when we were doing a scene together with
Debbie,
in Debbie's class, he came in and gave us some advice on how to do it.
For a scene,
Do you
remember what scene it was?
I forget.
It was the one the movie with Christopher Walken.
Oh yeah. It was like
he played Kim or somebody.
Yeah, it was like some Mamet play or something about, I don't know, some playwright who snorts a lot of coke, ends up in a lot of debt with the wrong people. Typical, like, sort of like a Get Shorty situation, but it was a fun. Yeah, it was really fun. He really elevated like everything that he was called in to do as a fight choreographer to do in that class, because it wasn't just our scene. He helped out with a couple of others where somebody got robbed in their apartment, so he choreographed like the robbery parts.
Stephanie.
Yeah. Some of our old friends from those acting classes are probably going to remember. So we've acted together. We've been friends together. We're those friends that like we call each other up at 2 a.m. being like, man, this is the crazy shit that's going on in my life.
Yeah, we've talked on the phone for hours.
Yeah, really. So yeah, we're just really old good friends at this point.
And we are going to be staying old good friends for the rest of our lives because I support you and want to see you succeed.
Thank you, Jacob.
And whatever it is that you want to do, because I know you want to get into politics.
Well,
not anymore?
Well, okay, here's the thing. So like my future, I have no idea. But like right now, I know that I'm really enjoying doing journalism. And I think that's like the future I want to pursue the most.
Okay.
Really, because like journalism, and like if I can work a way to also stay a stand-up while.
No, you need to do that. You need to do that. This guy is the funniest guy. Like everyone going and working through their stuff, and there's gonna be some rough patches, some rawness that he's gonna be working through because you haven't been doing it a long time.
No, I'm still like really starting up. Like it's one of those things where like when I was going like actually to talk about like personal struggles, since this is what this is all about.
Yeah.
During like the worst like years of my life, which I would say like mostly in high school, like from high school sophomore year to about 2015, 16, like that, just like when the shit was at its worst for me. I was in a household that was not very friendly to anyone, and like at my worst, the one thing that like kept me sane was watching like old George Carlin stand-ups, like going through every single Netflix stand-up special on Netflix. I think it was George Carlin. I think some like Richard Pryor, Louis C.K. before we know what we know about it now. But Louis and a bunch of other comics. So even Bill Hicks. I found some Bill Hicks stuff on YouTube, and it was like it was like an everyday thing. Like I was watching a stand-up special every day, and so I've always been like a fan of the art, and it's always like helped me be a little bit of a better person than I would be otherwise. Like just like doing it is I wouldn't say necessarily therapeutic, but it's like it's challenging in a way that forces me to grow, which I think is what, you know, challenges like Jacob's like 30-day challenges for. Like it's the point is to put yourself through that, so at the end of it you've found something new about yourself. And I think that's really beautiful for him to do, and that's why like I have to keep doing stand up, because if I don't, I'll probably just go insane. Yeah.
Well, it makes you happy. You're having a great time. You're excited by it. You're passionate about it. You get a joke, and you gotta write it down. You got your little you got a bunch of little journals that you have.
Yeah. I got one.
You got one right now. Maybe you can tell one joke.
You know what?
Or is this not the right kind of formatting
it's
platform?
Fine.
Like,
the thing is that this isn't my comedy journal. This is my journalism journal.
oh, your journalism.
Which is so it's mostly empty, but for like I just like I always have a journal on me, sometimes for jokes, sometimes if I get struck by like a story idea for journalism. It's always helpful to be able to write your ideas down, because you know otherwise they float away. But yeah, so you know, like journalism, stand-up comedy, those are like my top two things right now that I want to do for the rest of my life. So.
And I support you, and I want to see you doing that.
Yes.
And if you change it and you're not excited or happy by it, I'm totally cool with it.
I know, Jacob.
You find something else that you love to do, like I'm all for it. If I get money, like I'm throwing it your way.
Thanks.
Yeah. The people I meet, anything you want to get into, whatever field, and they're into it, like I'll introduce you guys. Like,
thanks.
I'm not just saying it for this. Like, I love this guy so fucking much. He's my best friend, as well as Daryl Genie, who I'm still coming after. You know,
yeah, he really needs to end up on this blog. That's really like.
He was supposed to be yesterday.
Really?
Well, the thing is, because like he doesn't know about his work schedule, and
okay, yeah.
You know, and he's like, "Oh, let's just do it next week." And it's like, dude,
yeah,
I know, like I know people are gonna love this because of our chemistry, like,
right, yeah.
You know, and then with Daryl, like he's got, you know,
he's funny as hell.
Maybe
too.
one of the later videos, all three of us,
just all three of us. Ooh, that would be really good.
Like that would, you know,
maybe like the last.
We won't even talk about cigarettes or smoking or addictions. It's just gonna be us saying random,
right,
stupid.
Maybe like day 31. That's what we should do. Like
day 30 after the 30 days.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you missed one.
Like a bonus, who knows? But yeah, so do you have any questions for me? I feel like there was okay, let's hear it.
Do you remember the first time you seen me smoking cigarettes? Because I know you've been against it. Like you've always like given me like a kind of disappointed, like, Jacob, come on, man.
Yeah. I think I can't remember a first time, but I feel like
was it surprising?
Not particularly. I think I can't remember first time. I think like the time it became clear like how much you were a fan of cigarettes was a fan. What the fuck? But like how much you used them was actually during that 12th night performance, because at the every once in a while we take a break to change the set, or just take a break, because we sometimes I think our like rehearsals will last like 5 hours or something like that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like a couple of the nights.
Yeah.
Were
like really late. So
but it was cool because Debbie and Pat, they always brought food.
Yeah. But every once in a while we take a break, and so a few people in the cast after like during the rehearsals when we had break would like go to like the secluded corner just off campus, and essentially have a smoke break, right? And it's like, I'm not judging anyone for doing that like as a social thing, but it was just like, damn dog, there were a lot of cigarettes after everyone left. It was like it was a little bit crazy, and because for me, like, the reason why I have like what some people would see as a stick up my ass about cigarettes is because part of the reason I'm here is because my mother quit cigarettes. So for the longest time, my mother had some trouble getting pregnant. Not necessarily that she was trying, but like essentially she'd been told from like a young age that she'd never be able to have kids, and so she was just always like convinced that wouldn't happen. And then one year, the year just before I was born, she quit cigarettes, she quit drinking soda and a bunch of other like unhealthy shit for her, and then boom, right, I show up. So to me, it's like I care about like people not smoking, partly out of like a jealous thing, but also partly out of like a, well, not a jealous, but partly out of like a just it's bad for your health thing. But it's also like I see it as like if people hadn't, like if my mother hadn't quit cigarettes, like I wouldn't be here. So like when I see other people doing it, it's like what future is being risked by, you know, that person smoking. So, you know, I'm okay with people like smoking in like a social situation like that, like with Jacob and a couple of our other castmates, right? But it was just like that. It irks me at a base level because, you know, part of me knows I wouldn't be here if you know, some of my family members hadn't quit smoking at some point. So yeah, I just like, I think it's very important that people quit.
So this is part 1 of the 3-part series, Mind, Body, Spirit. So today would be the mind.
Yeah.
And for the mind, I do have a cigarette of the day. It is ego. So the idea for ego came from Ben. Did you have any?
Well, I think it's just because, like, you know, the idea for ego, it came from, like, when I'm thinking about the mind, like, the hardest part of having one is sort of the ego. Because, like, you know, like, at least for me, right? Like, I enjoy reading, I enjoy writing, I like talking about all sorts of stuff with all sorts of people. But the problem I have is that, like, you know, I get very nervous sometimes about, like, everything. I could be very indecisive sometimes, and I'm like very worried about like how I look at any given time. So sometimes very insecure, and all that comes from like ego.
You look very handsome.
Thank you. But like the thing is that like for me, like the best part of having a mind is all the books you get to read, all the things you get to experience. And the worst part of having a mind is sort of the ego, and you know how that can like challenge you in some really rough arenas. So that's why I had the idea of making it about the ego today.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I brought Ben on here to talk about the mind and how important it is to keep learning, how important it is, because I feel that the mind, body, spirit, that's what makes us complete. And if you're missing one thing, you're feeling like you're missing. You're feeling like, you know, and that's where we get a lot of the negativity, the negative thoughts, and
right,
you know, because you feel incomplete, you feel like a failure, you feel, because when you have these 3 things you keep working on, right? Like I feel, you know, and it doesn't matter if you know, if we disagree on things, you know, if for spiritual, maybe you're a Buddhist or a Christian or a Muslim or a monk, or you know, you just do meditation, you do yoga, you know,
right.
As long as you keep working on that, as long as you keep working on your body, whatever that means. If you want to be a bodybuilder, if you want to be an athlete, if you want to be, you know, you just want to walk every single day, you want to live a healthier life, you want to have lower cholesterol or any of that kind of stuff, you have to keep working on your body every single day, whatever that means to you. And the mind is what also makes you complete with the 3, is that you keep learning, is that you keep growing, mentally challenging yourself in different situations, whatever your personality is, whatever you feel like doing in the moment because of how you were raised, because of how you were conditioned, you know, these are opportunities to grow. These are opportunities to strengthen your mind, as well as also strengthen your body and strengthen your spiritual life. So I brought Ben on here because he is the smartest guy I know. And I want you to talk a little bit about how you feel the mind ties into habits, addictions, how you feel about you training your mind and just your process, what you've gone through in life, your different challenges and yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, when I hear you talking about the mind, especially, I think like I think a lot about one thing I did recently was just like uninstall all the video games I used to play. So, you know, I used to like be able to dump like an entire weekend into just like playing video games and listening to podcasts. And now I'm just listening to podcasts, which is interesting. But like one thing I noticed is that like for me, like I struggle with like depression and a couple of other like minor mental health things. Well, not minor. Like none of it is minor, obviously, but like, you know, minor to me. Sorry. The point is that you know, I struggle with that, and one thing that I've noticed was that like when I was playing video games, I was just using it as a way of like not dealing with what usually happens to me on the weekends, and that is like, I'm away from people. I'm just like sort of stuck in my house because of like some transportation issues that I hope to get cleared up soon. And so like because of that, I just like feel down on myself this whole time. And the thing is that like when I was just playing video games, it was a way of just like ignoring those thoughts and just throwing myself into something. And as much as that's a good thing, sometimes it can also just become a trap where you're just like, I'm using this as a distraction. And I feel like that's one thing our minds are very good at, just distracting us from our own like sort of real issues, quote unquote. So yeah, I think that's like one of the major things. And the other thing is that like as much as your mind is a good thing to use, it can also easily become a trap, right? Like when you get stuck in your head and just keep telling yourself these stories, like when you become trapped in the stories you tell yourself, you become less able to experience life. And one way I want to bring that up was recently I was just like talking to somebody, right? And we were really hitting it off. And some part of my brain was still like, that's not a thing. That's not supposed to happen. People liking you, that no, right? And so the thing is that comes from like my depression and some of my, worst experiences in my house, or like, struggling with domestic violence. And so because of that, right? Like because of this old story I've told myself about like my self-worth, right? I was struggling in that moment to stay with this person and continue to have a nice conversation with them, right? So I think like as much as our minds are good things, we also have to watch out for like how easy it is to tell ourselves the same story over and over until we're unable to move past it and become like a better person or a better version of ourselves. Yeah. I don't know where to go from here. Help. Throw me a lifeline, Jacob.
Throw you a lifeline. You know who you're talking to? You know who you're talking to? Like, I don't work well unless it's on stage.
I see.
And I've already memorized.
Right, you need to memorize things. Okay.
Okay, so I have, I think, 2 more questions. One of them is what do you have to say to anybody who's struggling with an addiction or struggling with a habit that they want to get rid of?
Right. Well, I think the main thing is that like you're not alone, and the other main thing is that like as much as you're struggling now, it does, well, no, it's not that it gets better. It's that you get more used to managing it in a way. Because the thing is that like a lot of our habits, right? A lot of the addictions we build up because of sort of like abusive relationships with ourselves, right? Like it's called substance abuse for a reason, because you're using it as a way of sort of retreating into safety, like my family has some issues with addiction, right? And so the thing is that when you see these people drink, right, it's not necessarily that they're drinking to like relieve any pain necessarily, right? It's that like it makes them feel better for a second, right? And then eventually your brain just becomes addicted to the actual chemicals in whatever you're using. And even if you don't want to use it, right, on a conscious level, you have the trouble of like you're now physically dependent on it because of this abuse. So I think like it'll be hard, but you can do it because other people have done it. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can say about that, other than like work on your relationship with yourself, because like we all kind of have bad relationships with ourselves in a way. Like we all, like especially now, like people are so anxious and worried about like getting laid or getting a car or any of those like other things that any number of people our age are dealing with. And the thing is that like the more we're on ourselves about those things, the easier it will be to slip into drug addiction or substance abuse or any other kind of abuse, right? Because the more worthless we make ourselves feel, the more likely we are to like want, like the more worthlessly we make ourselves feel, the more likely we are to want to escape that. And, the ways to escape that are to hurt somebody else or hurt yourself, and there's no real, like, yeah, like those are the ways to escape it, but that isn't the way to, fix it. And so if anybody's like, I'm just gonna hijack this, like if anybody's like feeling worthless out there, or feeling like they're not a person who's worthy of being loved or feeling loved, I think that's really the crux of like where addiction and abuse and all this stuff starts. So I think for those who feel that way, who don't feel who don't feel like they're worth sort of existing, or worth having friends, or worth being loved in any way, I think you guys, like, you need to get together and talk, and realize that you're probably simultaneously a better and worse person than you originally thought, which is, it's very much a good news, bad news situation, but it's certainly better than walking around, being essentially a walking time bomb for yourself, which is really not what you should be doing. Yeah. I don't know. That was very...
That was good.
Thank you.
That was
Thank
amazing.
You.
That's
Yeah.
So, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. Like, what finally inspired you to start, like, the 30-day challenge? What was that moment?
Okay, so, like, I'd seen a bunch of YouTube videos. I'd seen, that's the thing. I guess I'll talk about it now. Is I had come across Gary Vaynerchuk's audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he had made an audiobook after making the book Crushing It, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know until listening that he had made a book before Crush It.
Right.
And in Crushing It, he goes through interviews of people having read Crush It and how their lives have changed. And he just goes into it and saying how it's a very great book. I definitely recommend it. He talks about you going after your goals, and just your ambitions, your desire, your passion for it. It should equal out, what you want should equal out, how much work and effort and energy you're putting into it.
Okay.
You got all these people that want to be billionaires and own all these businesses, but what are they doing? They're on the couch, they're watching TV, they're
Right.
going to Disneyland or one of the theme parks, or they're eating out, or they're
Right.
they're living their life. But it's like you should humble your the what you're putting out. You should humble what you want. Right? So if you're not putting a whole lot of effort and energy into getting what you want, then you should not be having such ambitious goals. I mean, still, like, that's also another type of success kind of thinking, is like,
Right.
you want to, have
Yeah,
the
just,
most
like, putting it
goals
out
and
there.
putting it
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there, because that's the thing. It first starts with you thinking it. So
Right.
if you think like, oh, I'm only worth $5, that's as far as you can go. You'll never get beyond that.
Right.
So it's also good too to just think everything and anything. So he talks about this and talks about social media and talks about having a presence on there, not just to be famous, but it's you don't know who you're going to come across, you know who you're going to be connecting to,
Right.
and based off of your social media presence, you'll be able to make it ahead in this world in whatever field, whatever profession you want to be. So if you want to be a lawyer, and you're off helping, you're fundraising for kids or whatever, you
Right.
put on presence on there, you put the two together. Your policeman, work or whatever, your policing work, you go out there and you use social media to promote your it's a lot of promotion, right?
Right.
So that's the way I feel. And I got into this, I was like, it was more me wanting to step into something that I haven't done before. Kind of a bucket list thing. So I was like, hey, like, it'd be cool. I had an idea for a blog, which I still want to do.
Okay.
Write about certain experiences and but yeah, I was like, a vlog. I've never done that before. It'd be kind of interesting and fun to do. And it was hard coming up with ideas at the beginning. I was like, what do I do? And I was like, I think I was smoking a cigarette at the time.
Right.
I was like, what do I do? I can't think of an
single
idea,
thing. Yeah,
a single
yeah.
thing of,
Right. Yeah.
Jacob, what are you thinking? I'm thinking some weird things,
Right.
right. And I'm just like, hey, like, I've wanted to quit, like, that'd be fun. Like, I wanted this to be a one-time 30-day thing. Just, hey, like, I'm quitting here. People can watch my journey. They can, hopefully they can relate to, that's the whole thing that I'm trying to do these things, doing the things I'm doing in life, is I want to relate to people. I want to help them and to help, we all help each other. We all learn from each other.
Right.
And hopefully somebody watching this can be like, hey, I'm going through that too. Like I'm thinking the same things or having
Right.
that same problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's great, you know, not to feel alone. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, somebody else is out there going through the same thing.
Right.
You know, so I guess it makes people feel less depressed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Like, it's all about like building community. Like, no matter what you're struggling with, right? Like I feel like we walk around with our like troubles inside ourselves so much. We you know, no matter what the problem is, like we just think that whatever it is, it's happening only to us. You know, I feel like that's a big problem for everybody, because the longer you walk around thinking that, the less healthy you're going to be with yourself and other people, because you're going to be like pretending like you're hiding this ridiculous secret, you know, like, ooh, I smoke cigarettes, or ooh, like, you know what I mean? Like, it could be anything, right? So I feel like it's really good for you, just in general, but like everybody, like, you know, quote unquote, this generation, I guess, if we're going to go that big. But like, specifically, Jacob, it's great for you to like make this a community thing, right? Because now other people, you just said it was okay for other people to talk about that.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. You know, we all got to talk through our issues sometimes, you know, and we don't always have a Jacob we can call at 2 a.m. So, yeah, thanks. This is good. I'm glad you're doing it.
I love you, Ben.
I love you too.
But yeah, that's the most important thing. Any issues, any problems, anything you're having, anything you're going through, any difficult issue, you know, it's always the best thing you can do is talk about it with someone.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing is you don't want it to stay inside. You don't want it to fester. You don't want it to, because that's where, you know, time does not heal with pain.
Yeah. No, it
You know?
doesn't.
And you know, it is if somebody's hurt you, you know, and you're like, I'm just gonna let it go. I'm just gonna work on my thing. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna deal with it.
Right.
You know, it ends up eating at you, and just over time, all these different things, all this different pain, you know, these different situations or circumstances that build on each other, and just we are capable of doing anything, whether it's good
Yeah.
or bad.
Exactly.
You know, so that's where you have a lot of issues in the world now, is
Yeah.
because people just don't communicate effectively. They don't deal with their issues,
Yeah.
you know, in the right, appropriate manner. So yeah, community and talking about it, talking about it. So is there anything you'd like to share? Is there anything you'd like to promote?
Not off the top of my head. Just like if you're a student. Well, actually, no. No matter who you are, read the Pasadena City College Courier, because that's a paper that I'm on. So you should be reading it, obviously. But yeah, it's just pcccourier.com. 3 C's, so it's P, 3 C's, and then the rest of the word courier. You know, like somebody who
Wait,
gets stuff.
PCC Courier.
Yeah.
Not PCCC Orier.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, like that's how it actually comes out.
There's a PCC and then Courier.
Yes, all one word.
And for those who don't know how to
.com.
spell, and I'm talking about myself, how do you spell courier?
Well, you just put me on the spot, Mr. Smart. I think it's.
That was my plan to get you off your game.
I think
I
it's
got him.
Courier.
I don't know why you're looking at me.
Well,
Courier, courier.
You
I'm
can-
like COLL. Courier.
Well, either
Oh.
way, you know, like if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably know how to Google it. So just Google Pasadena City College Courier. It'll be the first result. It's a pretty good little newspaper, you know. And outside of that, I can't think of anything to really promote here. But yeah.
So, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Ben, for coming on
Yeah, you're
today,
welcome.
recording
I
this.
loved it.
I love you, like I love Daryl Genie, which he's gonna be coming on. I'm coming after you. So thank you for coming on.
you're welcome.
For your, you know, your mind is a beautiful thing. Your mind is something that I wanted to use, and now I've done it.
That's
and
good.
It's
Yeah, I'm glad. It's, you know, it's here for people to use, actually.
I've
Like,
manipulated you into doing this.
all right.
So, yeah, thank you guys for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button. Comment down below. Tell me what you'd like me to address. Tell me how beautiful this guy is and how amazing his fro is.
Well, okay. Yeah. Now we've mentioned the fro. You couldn't just leave it.
I had to do
Okay,
it.
all
So
right.
comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking. If you have any questions to ask me, do so down below, and share, subscribe if you haven't already, so you can be notified every time I upload a video. So I'm here, I'm waiting, I'm ready. I'll see you tomorrow.
Cool. Yeah, sure.
Just be like, all right, this will be at the end for the bloopers. This guy is telling me how nervous he is.
I'm not kidding. Like I was like, oh man, I don't know how you're gonna save that in the editing bit. I was all nervous about it, and like
you did amazing.
Thank you, but that's the thing, right? Like,
can't even tell. This is what acting does. This is what acting, it helps you, in with your confidence and your body, movement.
Yeah, and like just, I think another skill that it helps with is like shutting off parts of your brain and just like saying words, especially when we were like doing Shakespeare early on, because Twelfth Night is a Shakespeare play, right? Like none of that shit made sense, man. Like we had no idea what we were saying half the time.
You remember your lines?
No.
Did you remember your lines at the time?
No. It was up until like actual opening night. Like we had a preview night, right? And I managed to drop a line for a solid 30 seconds. Speaking of that, because I was all worried about like the dead air in the episode, right? Speaking of dead air, right? I was worried about like the dead air in Jacob's vlog here, right? Speaking of dead air, like in the middle of a stage play, I forget my line, and we're just standing there looking at each other.
That was the main stage?
Yeah, that was the main stage. That was the main stage preview night.
Okay. I remember everyone talking about it.
Yeah, we had this sword fight thing where we had to cut like my lines like 30 times because I kept dropping them or forgetting it, or like one, like a word or a paragraph. It was horrible, right? And so this was like preview night, right? So this is the first time the general public, quote unquote, is going to be able to see it, right? Of course, it's a preview night, so they're supposed to forgive any mistakes. But you're not supposed to have major ones like what happened with me, where like it was me and my like co-star, as it were, Adam Oler. Like there was this point where my character goads his character into a sword fight, and I completely dropped the line where I'm like, go towards that sword fight. So we're just standing there literally looking at each other, and I'm just nodding like, yep, this is happening. And like there were like legitimate friends of mine in the audience being like, what is this, how it's supposed to work? What's going on here? So yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm just a little nervous about that air, but
Oh, you did great, and you kept it going. Like, I'm the nervous one, man. I'm the nervous one. If you've seen all my videos, you've seen how many times I cut. This one will be pretty, like, very little minimal cuts that I'll be able to make. Okay. So thank you.
All right.
Thank you for making my video 10 times better. You unconfident, selfish little, what was the word I used before?
Insecure.
Insecure.
We have a working relationship here, I do dumb shit, and then he's dumb enough to forget the words for what I just did. So, it's a fair trade here,
Do you remember when you, me, and Daryl, we wanted to move in together?
Yeah.
Were we trying to
I still kind of want to do that, honestly. Like, I'd be down.
Like to move in with people or move in with us?
With us, maybe, I think.
That'd be like, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
If you guys, oh my God.
Anybody selling a house? Like, you got 3 guys with barely jobs.
With barely jobs.
Like, we're barely breaking $10 an hour here, but hey, you know what? We're willing to buy your house. But like what you just said about like writing down topics and all that, right? I actually have this weird thing with my stand-up that like if I like write it down beforehand, right? I have I have the worst time delivering it. Like,
right?
Yeah, like if I just like,
oh my God.
Yeah, like if I write down like this is joke 1, this is joke 2, this is where it goes, right? All that, like I can, like if I have that written down, I'm just gonna struggle all the way through, all the way down. But like if I just go up there being like, I will talk about this, right? I have a better time with it because I can just like essentially workshopping it as I go, so if one bit's not working, I can just like throw it out and start something else. Yeah, and that generally seems to go slightly better for me than being like, wait, no, was that the right punchline? Did I drop? Like, yeah, it's rough, but yeah, so that's interesting that like we both have that kind of struggle.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah,
smart guy and not so smart guy. Intelligence and
multiple concussions.
Yeah, we can both think similar
ways. Yeah.
Yay! I'm just like Ben. Oh.
You know, if you got a little, you know, this is what I want to say. You say it all. We're
Right.
done. Right.
Okay.
So it's up to you.
Okay.
It always has been.
Oh my God.
We covered everything, I think, right? Is
Well,
there anything you?
okay. Here's like we need to stop recording for this part.